This is a week where there are massive favorites all over the place. So you have 6 of them. 6 that are over like 3.5. Of those 6 teams, I'm going to go 2 that I would not play, 2 that I like, and I wouldn't hate you for playing, but I think 2 above those 2 are the best. We'll do them in that order. Here are the 2 that I would not play if you are still lucky enough to be alive in either Circa Survivor or in a Survivor contest near you. The Ravens are 7.5-point favorites on the road at Miami, and that's a Thursday night football game, isn't it, Kelly?
Yes, it is this Thursday. Looks like Lamar's going to go, but check in with those Harbaughs.
Anyway, I wouldn't play it. I wouldn't play the Ravens. One, because you'd have that uncertainty. They also have a home game Thanksgiving where you hope maybe they're fuller strength. Maybe you don't have Philly left, so you'd have to save them for that. And it's a Thursday night football game, which is always squirrely to begin with anyway. And you have other opportunities to use them. Week 11 at Cleveland, Week 12 home versus the Jets. I'm not going to mess with them.
Same conversation as last week, to me, honestly. It's even worse because the Thursday. You brought it even worse because you add in the Thursday night football. But on top of saving them, it's just why would you wait till this team looks like the old Ravens team, right? Like they're still getting guys back. I would not be rushing to use them at all.
The 6th biggest favorite on the board is also one I would not play, which is the Patriots, who are 5.5-point favorites at home versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, regardless of how you feel about the Patriots, this would not be the week to get too cool for school and use them. There are so many better options, and I'm going to assume you have at least one of those better options to play. By the way, you can also still play the Patriots at home versus the Jets Week 11, at home versus the Giants Week 13. So I don't know if you want to mess with an Atlanta team that is, to me, better than those other 2 teams, and on a week where there are way bigger favorites to play. Yeah. Regardless how you feel about the Patriots.
Yeah, you can take whatever I say with a grain of salt because I'm out now. But the plan, Gill, was, it was purposely push the Patriots far down the road because I kind of knew where I was going to go this week and next week.
Yeah. So no need to play them, in my humble opinion. Now, here, of the remaining 4 teams, here are the 2 teams that I wouldn't hate you for playing, but I still think there are better options. One of those sort of lukewarm okays would be the Chargers, who are 10-point favorites at Tennessee. You can still play the Chargers Week 13 at home versus the Raiders. I'm not necessarily saying that this week's game is harder than that one, because I don't know that it is. But I just don't trust the Chargers. This is just a me thing. I don't know. They just worry me. They worry me, and because you get the home game later, I think the real consideration is I think there are 2 better picks this week.
Right.
So the Chargers, okay, you could play them. I don't hate it. It gets a green check mark. It's just not the best 2 to me.
Yeah.
Among the best 2.
I think you put that pretty well. I think I would, this was not one that was on my list, Gil. I think I would be forced to reconsider them at least a little bit now that we see where that line's at and playing Tennessee and how big of a disaster the Titans are. But no, it was not really any plan to use the Chargers this week.
Let's go to the other 1 green checkmark team, which is, again, I wouldn't hate you if you used them, but I still think there are better picks, and that's the Detroit Lions. The Lions are 8.5-point favorites hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Sure, you could play them. Just know that if you're in Circa Survivor, you have a home game on Thanksgiving with them versus the Packers. Maybe you don't want to use it then. There might be some value to saving them at Minnesota Christmas, though. The Christmas quirk is still out there. And I know maybe you were saving Washington to host Dallas. I'm guessing you don't feel as good about that now, maybe. So the Lions at Minnesota Christmas is still something you might want to save, and you still could play them Week 12 at home versus the Giants and Week 14 at home versus the Cowboys. So, especially that Giants game, you could use them here versus Minnesota. Again, I'm not going to hate you for it. I just don't think it's the best of the best. The 2 that I think are clearly the best if you have either of these available, and it's no surprise because it's reflected in the spreads themselves. I don't think this is a week to get cute. The Packers are 12.5-point favorites versus Carolina. 12.5, Kelly. Yes, they are at Detroit Thanksgiving. I doubt you're saving the Packers for a road game at Detroit on Thanksgiving. You do have the Packers other opportunities to use them. Week 11 at the Giants, Week 12 hosting the Vikings, and Week 14 hosting the Bears. But why not now? Why not use the Packers here?
They were going to be one of 2 teams that I was going to consider.
Would the other team you're considering be this one?
Yes, it would be, Gil.
The Rams, who are even bigger favorites, 13.5-point favorites versus the New Orleans Saints. There's only one other real spot to use the Rams or consider them as at Carolina week 13. So this is not only the biggest spread on the board, it is also the most natural, organic place to play them in terms of lack of future value. And you have a New Orleans team now that doesn't even know who they're starting at quarterback. Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck, we will see where Kellen Moore decides to go with that. I don't think there was anything about Shuck's performance last week that makes you think, oh my God, this is so much better than Rattler. So for me, it's a very easy week in considerations in terms of tiering them. Mm-hmm. Packers or Rams, in whatever order there are your top two considerations. And again, no big news there because they are the biggest favorites on the board. If you decided you want to go, I want to play perfect survivor strategy, let everybody else play those teams, pray for an upset, then you might consider the Chargers and Lions, though, again, I think it's a little too cool for school. And I just wouldn't consider the Ravens or the Patriots just based on the choices that are available to you this week, more than anything. And the Ravens is squirrely on a Thursday night, and there's other better places to play them. Yeah. Anything else besides those six, by the way, because people always ask, why do you just talk about those? Anything else where it's a short favorite, you're on your own with that. I'm not going to go through every one of those teams. You've obviously got some inkling of what you think you want to do there. I wouldn't consider any of them on a week like this. Don't be too cute. This feels to me like of all the weeks we've been through, the bingo square, just let's move on to week 10 and continue week.
Yeah, this would I would think, Gilly. I think it would have to be something pretty shocking for me to not go Rams if I was still around this week. I wanted to have Rams and Packers. I had them both set up to choose from for this week. I think it, like you said though, just the future value, right? I think it would be Rams this week. Play them, keep holding on to the Packers to have available. I also think this applies to both Packers and Lions, right? Although they might not be ideal matchups on Thanksgiving, they play each other. You don't know where injuries can happen between now and then, right? Like you might change your mind on that. So it's still so valuable just to have them available. Which means I think I would. I don't even know I would even consider the Lions this week. I think for me personally, they'd actually be a red X. It would be the Chargers would become the green check mark for me this week, though, that they weren't a couple weeks ago for this week.
Yeah, I Chargers just scare me, generally speaking.
Yeah.
By the way, in Circa Survivor, in case you missed it yesterday. It was a massive week, right? Of the remaining entries that existed heading into week 8, 48.81% of them got bounced in Circa Survivor Classic. So for the year now, 88.48% of entries that started, the 18,718 entries that started, 88.48% are gone, which means 2,157 remain. Each one of those has the intrinsic value now of $8,677.79.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.